Life will break you down if you let it. But what if I told you that everything you need to push through, to rise, to transform your health and transform your mindset and your entire life is already inside of you? We're talking about grit. In this hour, we are talking about finding your grit. No excuses, no shortcuts, just raw, unfiltered truth. Let's go. You with me? Let's define what is grit. It is the relentless perseverance, mental toughness, and a refusal to quit, especially when things get hard. It's pushing through pain, obstacles, and self-doubt to reach your goals. I'm going to say a lot of things today that are probably going to rile some feathers, might upset a few people, but I'm really hoping to inspire and motivate some to think differently. Not necessarily even to take action yet, although that would be really nice. But to dig deep within. And I'll tell you why I'm doing this today. I feel like lately I'm running into more and more, maybe it's the weather, I don't know. It's so much snow recently. I don't know what it is, seasonal affective disorder, whatever they call it. People who don't believe in themselves, people who are really down. They lack vision, they lack faith, they lack any kind of confidence that they can do anything beyond what they're already doing, or that they're not going to be good enough to do whatever it is they want to set out to do. Well, who cares? Doing something is always better than doing nothing. Okay, I could qualify that and say maybe the opposite is true once in a blue moon. But generally speaking, doing something is better than doing nothing. Now, the reason I'm bringing you this, and the reason I feel I can say this today, all the things I'm about to say and share, are because when I talk about obesity, when I talk about, let's say, lack of self-confidence, when I talk about self-doubt, when I talk about self-worth and the lack of self-worth that so many people have, when I talk about fear, it's because I've been in these places for so many years. I spent doubting myself, doubting my capabilities, thinking I wasn't good enough, thinking I didn't deserve whatever it is I was really wanting deep down inside my heart. I don't feel that. I don't feel that anymore. And you know why? It's because I had to dig down and find my grit. I had to find what was within me to just bring it out and dig it out and believe in myself. And it comes through action. Dig, act, dig, do, dig, move forward. Failure is going to happen. I could, use a cliche or whatever you call it, an analogy that's been used many times. Michael Jordan, he had the most baskets at one time, or most points or whatever, but he also had the most misses. You know why? He took the most shots. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You miss 100% of the opportunities you don't go for. If they're there and you don't go, you missed it because you didn't go. If they're there and you go towards the opportunity, trying to make it work and make it happen, and it fails, at least you tried. When we try, and I say when we do, really, when we go for it, failure is inevitable to achieve success. But don't give up. There's the other analogy. I was talking with my friend Don McPeak yesterday, my best friend, 52 years. My company is going global. I have a very, very highly skilled, structured team of 4 people developing this company. It's three people plus me. Don's on the team as business development. We talked about the tunnel you see in the famous cartoon or the drawing of the guy who dug into a mountain 1,000 feet and gave up because he didn't find the gold. And then there's the other guy who went 1,001 feet. One extra foot. Bingo! He scored. He scored big. He only put in a little bit more effort, but he also had the determination and the grit to dig in and keep going until he got what he thought would be there. And sure enough, there it was, 1 foot more. He wins. Other guy fails. Okay, so we can learn from these experiences. If you're trying to improve your health, if you're trying to change your diet, there's so many different things out there we hear about with diet. We've had them on the show. We've had guests who promote vegetarian, guests who promote vegan. Dr. Michael Greger, he said, yeah, you can eat meat, but put plants at the center of your diet, a plant-based diet. Well, then you get Dr. I can't remember his name right now, out of Tennessee. You got to go for the meat. Well, whatever it is you decide, and for whatever reasons you decide these things, give it a try. Obviously, stay away from the processed stuff. Those things are no-brainer, okay? I mean, the cavemen were hunting down animals. They were killing them. They were cooking them. They were eating them. Okay, so I think we've been doing this a long time. If you don't like to eat animal, then don't eat it. But if you try a diet that doesn't work for you, modify it. If you try exercises that don't work for you, modify. But don't give up. Don't go back to the processed food because you couldn't cook the steak right, or because you couldn't make the vegetables taste the way you want them to, or cook them the way you like, or you don't like them raw, or whatever it is. Try some different vegetables. We can't give up, folks. But we will miss 100% of the opportunities we don't go for. We're going to miss them. So grit is the relentless perseverance, mental toughness, and refusal to quit, especially when things get hard. One of the hardest things I faced was losing 70 pounds. This is going back, 16 years or so. But I had to do it because I saw the painting on the wall. I saw the picture ahead of me that at this age now of almost 64, I'm just going to say I'm 64. Okay, because I'll be that really soon. Well, cripes, when I was 48, I weighed 289 pounds. When I was 64, I weighed 215 pounds. But I did the work. I didn't give up. Yeah, I fluctuated a little bit, especially 5-6 years ago. I was a little heavier in the 230s. I'd been traveling a lot. It was really hard. I was finding it difficult to eat well during travel. But I figured that out now. When I travel, I never gain weight. In fact, a lot of times I lose weight. I haven't really figured that one out yet, except I'm really moving a lot when I travel because I'm teaching. I'm moving all over the place in these workshops and instructing physical therapists around the world. I'm moving constantly. There's hardly any downtime when I travel, and it's never vacation. Even when I go to see family out of town, they have little kids, grandkids. We're moving. We're doing stuff. We're on the trails. I'm riding the bike 20 miles. I'm running. I'm walking, whatever, with my son. I'm moving. I'm getting off track here. We're going to go to break in a minute. When we come back, I'm going to talk about pushing through pain and obstacles and getting past this self-doubt that so many of us have. I had that for so long, folks. I cannot even tell you how hopeless I was. But what I want you to wrap your mind around is that if you're listening to this show, if you're able to turn on the radio, if you're able to live stream online, if you're able to function through your day, maybe you have a job or you're retired and you had a job and you had a career and you're living reasonably well, there's no reason you can't succeed at something if you put your mind to it. Okay, yeah, there could be reasons. I get it. But generally speaking, there's no reason. There's some way to get there. You're listening to Your Health Matters. My name is Karl Sterling. Elizabeth is off this week. She'll be back next week with me. This is News Radio 570 WSYR, also available on 106.9 FM. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Grit, the relentless perseverance, mental toughness, and a refusal to give up, a refusal to quit, especially when things get hard. Angela Duckworth did a lot of research on this. All right. So grit is far more, let's say, important and relevant in success than talent. There are talented people all over the place. Some of them done really well. You've seen them on TV. You've heard them on the radio. Maybe your favorite artist. There's a talent there, a God-given gift. And yes, of course they practiced. Of course they honed in on their gift, and they found a direction, and they came to us, and they put out records, CDs, MP3s, whatever it is these days. They put out music. They put out movies. They put out whatever. And then there's all the rest of them with talent. There are so many talented musicians I know who play circles around other musicians I see touring with famous acts, worldwide, world renowned acts who are so much more talented than the people on the stage. But they have no grit. They have no self-belief. Now, of course, sometimes you have to put in effort. You've got to be maybe meeting people. You have to be finding your way and navigating through all these different circles of people to hopefully get to the point where you get asked to do an audition or a gig, or you find and you apply for and set up an opportunity to audition or play in front of, or whatever. I'm just talking from a former musician standpoint. I went through auditions, and I didn't get every gig. I got a lot of them that were offered, but I didn't give up though, because I knew if I really wanted something, if I worked hard at it, I would have a chance of succeeding, and I just would see myself in that position. Just like when I needed to lose the weight, when my doctor, Joe Pincus, who, I really liked him as a doctor. When we left the practice, I was sad, but, he taught me a lot. And Dr. Pincus told me, he's like, dude, cripes, your blood pressure's high. You're way overweight. You're obese. You got neuropathy starting in your feet. You got all kinds of issues. Says you're going down a bad road. Well, that's all I needed to hear. And I just found the grit. I called the trainer, Eric Pegger. I called him from the parking lot after that physical, after I got done crying like a baby because I was so ashamed of myself. I was ashamed of myself. Eric and I got together a day later. Guess what happened, folks? I started finding that grit because I had a reason. I want to be alive for a long time. What about you? Do you want to be alive and well for a long time? This is a health-based show. There are a lot of types of health. You got physical, mental, emotional, financial, and whatever else. There's all kinds of health out there. Maybe spiritual. For me, it's a big thing, my faith. So Angela Duckworth talks about grit. There's a book she wrote called The Power of Passion and Perseverance. All right. It's a great book. I would highly recommend getting it. The Power of Passion and Perseverance. If you look at another definition of grit, it equals passion plus perseverance. Okay, maybe you have a job you're not passionate about. Been there. Oh my gosh, as a musician, I was so burned out. It's unbelievable. I had to find something different. I love what I do now, and we're growing global. Like I've said, this team I have together, we have grit as a team, and they help bring out more grit in me because we're going global. We're going fast. We're going big. And here's why. People need what we have, and there's a big demand for what we offer here at Neuromotor Training. And I want to provide this on a massive level to help people because nobody else is actually doing what we're doing. So when we put the two things together and look at passion plus perseverance, passion is that long-term dedication to an interest or a goal. If you're stuck in a situation where you're burned out or you don't like it, maybe it's time to find something you do like Of course, I couldn't give up my gig as a musician, working 5, 6, 7 nights a week because I needed to pay the bills. But as I got into, in the early days, I was a personal trainer, and now it's evolved into, rehabilitation and all this other stuff. But eventually I was just able to cut it off. After 5 years of doing this business, I could cut off being a musician. I didn't want to do it. I never want to do it anyways again. I'm done. I'm burned out. It's nothing I can go back to. Maybe you can find something and work towards it, right? And the perseverance is going to be the ability to keep going despite failures, setbacks, and obstacles. Grit is not talent. It's about sustained effort over time. Gritty people work harder. They stay committed for longer. They achieve more than those who rely on talent alone. Or maybe just a little bit of desire. Hey, it's February 23rd right now. You see how empty the gyms are? It's unbelievable. I'd never seen gyms empty out so fast in my whole life. You got January 2nd, everybody's at the gym. 2 weeks later, it drops. Another 2, 3 weeks later, it drops. Now it's back to normal already this year. That is not grit, my friends. That's lack of sustained effort. That is giving up. That is giving up for most of them. Maybe they found another gym and I don't go there. I don't know. But it happens every year. Grit is a better predictor of success than IQ, talent, or social intelligence. When you study the cadets at West Point Military Academy, grit score predicted who would make it through Beast Barracks. This is the toughest period of their training. It had little to do with intelligence and athletic ability. It had to do with grit. It had to do with stick-to-itiveness. It had to do with get through it no matter what. Because when you get on the other side, you're going to feel a sense of accomplishment. You're going to get towards that goal you want. You're going to realize other things that you can't realize if you give up. Grittier children practiced more and advanced further in spelling bee competitions, regardless of their IQ. Studying corporate leaders, salespeople, and students, grit consistently determines success across fields. Grit requires a long-term goal, not just working hard, but working hard towards something deeply meaningful. You're looking to lose 50 pounds. Let's just take that for example. How bad do you want it? Oh, you're not feeling that sick. You're not diagnosed with anything. Maybe you don't have type 2 diabetes. Maybe your insulin seems to be sort of okay. But long term, it's not good for you. But because you're not actually diagnosed with anything now, you're not feeling bad or maybe that bad. It's good enough and it's okay. I can tolerate this. So I'm just going to be like this. It's not wrong, folks. It's actually not wrong to be like that. But if you really want to drop those pounds and that weight, maybe because you've read some books, listened to this show or whatever, and done some research to find out that the long-term prognosis is not so good for you, that maybe it's time to dig in and be a visionary and have some forward thinking and actually get up off the chair, off the couch, out of the chair and get moving. So you have to work towards it. It has to mean something to you. And maybe it doesn't mean anything. And if it doesn't, it's okay. And you do something else, There's nothing wrong. It's not illegal to be overweight or obese, okay? It's just that I'm going to implore you as we talk through the next couple of segments to think about who might this affect down the road. All right, you're listening to Your Health Matters on News Radio 570, WSYR. Anyone can develop grit by building habits and embracing discomfort and reframing failures. We can learn from our failures. So we're going to continue with that when we come back from this break. We're talking about grit today, my friends. Grit is trainable. Okay. I repeat, anyone can develop grit by building habits, embracing discomfort, and reframing your failures. I was talking about diet earlier. Well, yeah, maybe something didn't work for you. Maybe you thought it would be the right thing. Maybe it's not the right thing. So maybe it's time to make a change. Try a different diet, try different exercises. Now, if you want help on this and information, I don't have time to take anybody new, but you can reach out to me still because I have tons of things I can send you. We could do a short consult over Zoom or on the phone, and I can give you so much stuff, you'll be set for weeks. All right, so it's karlsterling.com. That's Karl with a K. Text me through there, email me through there. Because the effort matters more than natural ability in the long run. There's so many people out there with natural ability, it's going to waste. And that's just a crying shame, right? When we look at Duckworth's work in developing, she developed a grit scale. It's a self-assessment tool, and it measures two components. The consistency of interest. So do you stick with goals long-term, or do you jump from one thing to another? Oh, that used to be me, folks. I used to jump from one thing to another, to another, to another. Oh my gosh. No wonder I couldn't get anywhere. I didn't have any focus. But I also needed to find what it is I could stick to, and I found it. So I feel very fortunate for that. All right, so perseverance of effort. Well, when we look at that, do you push through difficulties, or do you give up easily? The gyms are empty. They're back to normal. People giving up. Oh, this is too hard. Oh, I don't see results instantly. Oh, no, I can't do this. Oh, no, I'm not good enough. Oh, no, people are looking at me and they might think I look bad when I work out. Who cares? I have a motto. As long as I'm not damaging anyone or hurting anyone or being a jerk or, being just I won't say the word I'm thinking, but I don't, what people think of me is none of my business. I'm going to repeat this again. If I do what I feel is the right thing and I'm treating people well and I'm doing the right thing for myself, my family, my people, then truly what other people think of me is absolutely none of my business. And I would implore you to maybe adopt this philosophy as well. If you're going out like some people and you're being some kind of a narcissistic jerk, well, you better be concerned about what people think of you because they probably don't really like you very much. And we know quite a few like that. We've had them here. They're gone now. We just can't tolerate it here. We won't tolerate it in my clinic. Because this is a healing environment, folks. This is a place of community, friends, and healing. And so I say now again, what people think of you should be none of your business. You should just go on with what you believe is the right thing to do, find your passion, get to it, and stick with it. Studies show that higher grit scores predict greater success. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, right? So developing a grit mindset, let's get with that. Developing a grit mindset. We have to believe that abilities are developed through effort and not fixed traits. This is a big one, okay? Hey, let's go through this. Let's talk about another thing. It's not related in one way, but you can tie a relation to this. Your lifestyle dictates much more so your longevity, your health span, than your genetics. If you have cancer that runs rampant in your family, yep, you want to be concerned. But you know what? Lifestyle is going to determine more so if you get cancer than your genetics. That's a fact. Now, it's not always avoidable. Some people get cancer. There's no explanation why. They have no genetic traits. They live really, really healthy. They eat super clean. They're moving. They're lean. They have a great body composition, and they get cancer. And they've had apparently seemingly no exposure to toxins long term. Hey, we can't explain everything, but we also can explain a lot of things like toxins, lifestyle, exposure, just lifestyle being probably the biggest factor. I don't know statistically if that's true, but I would say for most people it probably is true. that fixed traits don't determine outcomes as much as abilities that are developed through effort. And we can tie in with abilities, just substitute lifestyle developed through habits. Okay, so you're trying something new. You view a failure as an opportunity to improve rather than evidence of inadequacy. Yep, we can talk about the famous Thomas Edison. 999 ways this is a quote. It's famous. I don't know if it's actually that number. 999 ways not to make a light bulb that works. And then boom, on the thousandth try, metaphorically speaking, it lights up. There you go. But he didn't give up. If he gave up at 999, we probably wouldn't have had light bulbs for a while. Who knows? Maybe it would have been decades. We'll never know because he didn't give up. We want to pursue a higher purpose. Ooh, there's one. Okay, I can go in and say this. How many self-centered people do you know? Hey, I used to be that way. Can you believe it? Of course I was. As a musician, it doesn't mean musicians are always self-centered, but hey, I wanted recognition. If we're in a bar playing and there's 20 TVs on and everyone's watching the game and they're not listening to us, I would get upset. So what are we, musical wallpaper? Well, the fact is, we were. So what? Like I expect attention. Come on, really. So you get two people listening and they clap and it makes you feel good for a minute. Well, whatever. Just whatever. Okay, so pursuing a higher purpose. Getting rid of that let's say, the entitlement that some of you may feel. And I don't know who's listening. We might have one person who's listening who feels entitled to this and that. We've certainly met them here. And we just get rid of them. Okay, and the judgmental thing and the holier than thou and the this and the that and preach one thing and act another way. I had no interest in talking with you. But what I do have an interest in is reaching you to pursue perhaps a higher purpose. Why? Well, when you're on your last day and you're on your deathbed, if you're conscious like my mom was, okay, some people live right up to the last few hours and consciously or last few minutes. If you're one of those people who has the blessing of cognition and memory right up till you die, what are you going to be thinking looking back? I say it all the time. I feel like I'm just talking to deaf ears a lot of times. What are you going to think? Oh, my higher purpose was people applauded for me and I got a standing ovation and blah, 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 and an encore. And oh, I looked at myself in the mirror and everybody looked at me. Oh, I got good muscles and body. Oh, I'm ripped and whatever. It's important to take care of yourself. It's important to have a good self-esteem. It's important to believe in your capabilities. But I would implore you to maybe investigate the idea that the world doesn't revolve around you. Because I actually did used to think it revolved around me. And then I discovered, it doesn't. And so all this attention I'm seeking, I look back with total embarrassment. What the heck was I thinking? That's like the dumbest thing I ever did in my whole life was seek attention and acknowledgement and acceptance. For God's sakes, get out of that and get out, get bigger than that and think about humanity. Just do it. Do something good for somebody else. A lot of you, I'd say like 98% of you are probably doing this anyway. So, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here. But maybe there's one person listening now out of maybe 12 who listen to the show that might heed something different. We have to go to break, though. We have one more segment. This is Your Health Matters, News Radio 570 WSOR. We'll talk more about grit when we get back. All right, we're talking about grit. So let's start digging in now. Let's talk about what the heck can we do. I'll tell you what we can do. We can start embracing deliberate practice. Improvements come from focused, effortful, and uncomfortable practice. I'm going to repeat that one. I like that. We need to focus, and our efforts, improvements will result from this focus and effortful and uncomfortable practice. The best performers, athletes, musicians, entrepreneurs, they don't just practice more, they practice smarter and they push the limits. Adopt a hard thing rule. Hard thing rule. What the heck is that? To be working on one hard thing in your life right now that requires long-term effort. Hey, I think we could all probably work on our health, even if we're super healthy. Okay, so there's an idea. And you can't quit until the goal is completed. There's a hard thing goal. I like that. Hard thing mindset. We're doing it now. I have meetings every day. I have 2.5 hours of meetings coming up today. Oh, this is pre-recorded. Okay, so I'm recording this 4 days before it broadcasts. But I've had meetings every single day, almost, about growing my company. But I'm not giving up until we're in like 600 locations around the world. Preferably more than that. It's going to take a few years. But I want at least 5 by the end of this year. I'm not giving up. There's no way. I have gritty people around me, and one of the suggestions here by Duckworth is surround yourself with gritty people. Grit is contagious. When you're around somebody who is gritty, that means you're around someone who's persistent and resilient, and they make you stronger. They will help to bring out the best in you and find things in you you probably didn't know you had. That's happening to me with my team. They're all so good at what they do, and they're so experienced, and they're so powerful. And when we put these 4 people together, myself and the 3 others, the power isn't times 4. The power is times like 400, because together we have super duper grit on top of individual grit. So grit predicts academic success. Okay, that's pretty cool. It also predicts athletic performance. I mean, athletes with grit train harder and outperform those with raw talent but no perseverance. Entrepreneurs in business, leaders, entrepreneurs with grit persist through failures and ultimately they succeed. Oh, look at Walt Disney. I think he went bankrupt 7 times, and then all of a sudden, then Disney, there it is. Well, now it's just, it owns a lot of things, right? I think it owns ABC. I don't know, but it owns a lot of things too. So we also know that in the health and the fitness realm of things, grit determines who sticks to the workouts, who sticks to the nutrition plan and the long-term health goals. So we do have this little grit versus talent debate. Society often values talent over grit. Well, here's the deal. Talent times effort equals skill. Right? Skill times effort equals achievement. You've got to go through you got to develop the skill, put forth the effort, go through the failures. And yes, I'm talking about your health because it matters. I'm talking about your nutrition, your body composition, your muscle mass, your everything. There are things like criticism and limitations of grit theory, if you will. Like, grit is not the only factor for success. Other factors like intelligence and opportunity and resources, yes, they matter. Too much grit can be harmful. Persistence in a failing endeavor can lead to burnout. I've actually been there with that. It's tough. It's very disheartening too. All right, so we have a whole lot here, folks, to think about when it comes to our self-worth. Let's get into excuses, though. I want to get into breaking excuses and taking ownership. Okay, the truth hurts a lot of times. Nobody wants to hear it because the truth can be very painful. But I want to talk about the top excuses that keep people stuck and weak. Okay, well, here's one. Okay, I don't have time. I'm going to tell you right now that I don't care who you are, with very rare exception, maybe 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 100 at the very most. You can make the time if you want it to live healthy. Okay? to get the right food, to put that food in your body. You can make the time. Yes, I know there are single moms working 3 jobs and this and that, but you can figure it out because others do. Okay, so I'm too old. Oh my gosh. Fauja Sain ran marathons past the age of 100 years old. Age is a mindset. I'm 25, by the way. I'll be 64. I have bad genetics. Epigenetics proves that your choices override DNA. I already talked about that one. I have chronic conditions. I have injuries. There's always a way to train. Giving up is not an option. I know people who they don't have legs, and they got grit, and they're going out there, and they're winning races. I know people who schlep their bodies in here and can barely walk and have 2 canes to get in here, and they keep coming in 2-3 times a week. And then there's the people who just don't feel like it, who don't show up, or they cancel. No, it doesn't work for me. That's an excuse. Almost all the time, these are excuses. I can say this, you know why? I used to make these excuses. I pulled in the parking lot of Eric Prager's, when he was back in Regency Towers, like a long time ago, right? I'm in there, and I called from my car, and I said, I can't make it today. I'm sorry for the last minute. Please charge me for the session. I go in the next day, and he says, hey, why'd you cancel from the parking garage? I saw you out there. Oh, come on. I just didn't feel like going in. Nobody's coming to save you, folks. There's no doctor, there's no pill, there's no government program that's going to do the work for you. It is up to you. If you follow Jocko Willink, extreme ownership mindset applies to longevity, health and longevity. I think he wrote a book called that too. Just go look up Jocko, Jocko Willink, Willink. The cost of being weak, what happens when you don't find your grit? At least in the health realm, there's a harsh reality. If you don't take control, life will control you through sickness, suffering, and regret. Okay, the future of weakness, if you don't act now, you're going to be becoming dependent on others. Maybe not be able to walk, relying on medications, hospital visits, maybe in a nursing home, having a slow spiral downward type of decline that's just pathetic. Cognitive decline and memory loss. Dementia doesn't just affect you, it devastates your family. It could be a financial burden because of all the medical costs from preventable diseases that would drain you and your loved ones. And then regret and missed opportunities. Looking back, say I shoulda, I coulda, and I didn't do it. So take this with love from my heart for you, and I mean this sincerely. I say everything I say today with genuinely, from the depths of my heart and soul, love. Imagine yourself 80 years old. Are you strong and thriving? Or let's say 100 years old. Or are you weak, bitter, and wishing you had done things differently? Is your future self, if your future self could speak to you today, what would it say? 5 rules of grit. You have to callous your mind. Train your mind to embrace discomfort. Do one thing hard every day. This is number 2. Number 1, callous your mind. Number 3, eliminate weak habits. Cut out the processed garbage food, alcohol, negative self-talk, and toxic influences. Replace with movement, discipline, clean eating, and unshakable accountability. Number 4, surround yourself with strong people. Weak people, they'll bring you down. Accountability partners, coaches, and mentors, and positive people will push you to be better and bring out more in you. The 40% rule. If you are doing something, you think you're done, you only have 40% of your capacity. Keep going. Don't give up. This is Your Health Matters. My name's Karl Sterling. KarlSterling.com, Karl with a K. We'll see you next week. Move your body. Use your brain every single day.